Everybody, and welcome to Training Thursday. We're getting used to this program again. Here we go. Awesome. Hey everyone, welcome to Training Thursday. I am super excited to talk to you guys today because I have a giveaway. I'm really pumped because there are so many cool things out there at the moment that are free, right? We have free trainings, we've got free webinars, we've got free ebooks, we've got free yoga. I was doing free yoga for a time. What else do we have? We've got so many different ways in which we can engage as a practitioner or a business owner or somebody who's looking after their health and their well-being. But with freebies comes this other little extra thing that happens that sometimes there's so many options for freebies right now, especially for me when I was like, what should I do about my yoga? There's this free one. There's this, I could pay such and such. I could do this other thing that I literally did nothing. And I wanted to talk today about the mindset that happens when we consider the freebie stuff. And I wanted to talk about it when it comes to business as well. And I also have $100 worth of training to give away. So if you are just joining us, make sure that you stick around to the end because I want to share with you this incredible giveaway. And pop a comment in the comment feed just to make sure that I know that you're here because I can't tell whether or not there is anybody here. So today I wanted to talk about the mindset issues that come up when the mindset issues that come up when we are trying to decide what to do about something that's free. Now, I've been seeing a couple of things around Zoom at the moment. Now, Zoom is free, right? And it's a platform that's available. It's really quick. So why aren't we all making decisions about it? Yoga is free at the moment on some platforms. Why aren't we all just joining yoga at the moment? First, it comes around to these 5 things. Number 1 is preferences. Now, the first thing that we start to think about when we are making a decision about anything is what do we prefer? You might prefer chocolate ice cream versus vanilla ice cream. Some of you might not enjoy ice cream at all and want a decent, raw cacao mixed with frozen avocado kind of scenario. But we're all going to have a preference. Now, this is never more prevalent for me than flying an airplane. One of the biggest things I have around preferences when flying an airplane is, unfortunately, that what's happened this week is my favorite airline here in Australia, Virgin, has gone into voluntary administration. Now, that doesn't mean they're out of business, but it's kind of a little bit scary about where they're at. Virgin, I have a preference for. Now, my preference for Virgin is specifically because there's some little things that I can filter through. Filters, that's the second thing we do when we're making a decision. There's filters that I have that I filter through to then make my preference. And some of these filters include things that have happened in the past, my past experiences and the choices I made and the consequences that came with that. My preferences around how I want to feel, so how something's going to make me feel. My preferences around money and some of the money stories that I've picked up from my family, my friends, my personal experience. My preferences are also influenced by things that I've learned or things that are important to me, things based on science or things based on style or things based on different things in which I will filter through to make a decision. So my preference comes from all of these filters, and my preference for Virgin is along the lines of them meeting my values, them meeting my experience, them meeting my level of understanding and where I want to feel abundant around money and finances and things like that. And so I don't choose Tiger Air or some of these other ones that I used to choose when I was a student. Now, your preferences and your filters change. And this is the thing. Mine, when I was a student, were totally different. And your preferences when you're choosing a platform or when you're choosing a training might be based on where you're currently at financially, where your stories have been on what you've experienced in the past, whether there's associations with different partnerships, different relationships you've had in the past, different conversations you've had in the past. There's all sorts of filters that come forward for your preference. So another example that I find really interesting is who here has an Android phone versus an Apple phone? Who here has a PC that they're looking at this on versus a Mac? Now, when you're making a decision about some of these types of things, you have a preference, right? Neither of these things is right or wrong. They're right for you at the time, and they're based on your values, your finances, your stories around what this means for you, your stories around what you make it, how you feel about it, and then we make a decision. If you are just joining us, I would love to see if the comment section is working. If you would want to put that on there, that would be great. Tell me about what your preference is when it comes to Android or Apple. So the thing when it comes to, oh, great. Whoa. All right. So the comment section is working over here on my phone, but not necessarily over here on this other device. So hey Haley, hey Nova, hey Moira, thank you guys for catching up there. So you're going to go through with a preference, and then you're going to start going through and trying to filter in what's going on when it comes to your values, your previous experience, your results that you've had before, what that means for you, how you want to make you feel, and then you come to a little roadblock. Because if you've got Android here, and there's lots of people saying it should be Android, and lots of people saying that Apple does this thing, and you maybe matches up in the same amount of money, and maybe matches up about the same amount when it comes to people's other experiences, maybe matches up with the stories that you're getting from some people and stories you're getting from other people who you trust, and then you're stuck going, what shall I do here? Then comes confirmation bias. Now, confirmation bias is the roadblock that many of us come up against that gets us into beautiful procrastination, because we're then going to go, well, so-and-so said that didn't work in the past, so it's probably not the thing I want to use. And such said that, oh my goodness. And here's that article that said, oh my goodness, this is what Apple does with all of this stuff. And here is all of the things that, based on all of our filters, we'd already made an idea about what we wanted the answer to be. And then up comes confirmation bias to match us exactly where it is. So this thing that happens in your brain, your reticular activating system, and other parts of your brain that match up pattern recognition is confirming and saving you energy not to have to think outside the scope. Now, we do this all the time as practitioners, and I find it fascinating that we don't do it when it comes to business. We would never, get into a position where we just try to find all of the literature that only supports our decision. We're all still going to have a look what other literature is around going, and then weighing up with our filters whether that matches what we are considering. And so the interesting thing about doing the same with business is that you have the opportunity to do the same thing, but notice where your preferences might be getting in the way, your values might be being met or not being met, there might be a little jiggle there, and where your confirmation bias is coming up. Now, confirmation bias, a symptom of confirmation bias, is justification, is getting angry that somebody doesn't agree with you, is finding an excuse, finding a way around. And it's got a very different feel to noticing and sitting back and weighing up the options. So number one, when you're making a decision about freebies that are out there, is what are your preferences? Notice where your preferences are helping you or hindering you. Number two is, what filters are you actually working it through? Are you working it through your own filters based on the past? Are you working it through filters based on other people that you've heard from? And are they helpful or hindering? And then the third one is, where is your confirmation bias? Are you actually trying to justify what's happening, or are you coming at it from a space of curiosity like a scientist and seeing what's available out there, including the research that's available that helps or hinders, and then taking it on board? And like a scientist, making a well-weighed up option. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is, in truth, the only way, just like a scientist, the only way to truly find out what's going on there is to run an experiment. Now, you might notice that experiment also has the same beginning of the word as experience. And this is the thing I find being in business is, unless I've had an experience with Apple, unless I've had an experience with PC, unless I've had an experience with an Android and an iPhone at the same time, then how am I really going to know which one's going to work for me? We can mull it over and think it over and learn about every different facet of it, but until we experientially go through the process, we won't know the nuances for us at this particular time. Now, I go back to my conversation about airlines. Now, when I was a student, my experience of Tiger Air was amazing. It was so good to be able to fly for absolutely nothing. And my experience of it was I could easily turn a blind eye to things being late or things being cancelled and postponed and put at a different time. And at the time, my experience was matching what I expected. Whereas with Virgin, especially now and doing my roadshow and traveling the past couple of years, my experience is, oh my goodness, there is no way I could possibly go back to these other airlines because my experience is met for where I'm at currently. Now, you need to tap in. Hey, Becky. Hey, Hayley. Hey, whoever else is just joining us as well. This is the thing about all of the online programs that you're considering using. Even if they're free, you have to make a decision and experience it. You can get everybody's different point of view, every piece of, media and non-media and research and non-research and opinion and preference and but it's not yours for where you're currently at, for what you're currently doing in your particular very unique situation of being online as a practitioner right now, for your particular way in which you have learnt before, for your particular way in which you want to present yourself, for your financials, for your way in which you understand the world and prefer things. It's the same nuance as getting an Apple or a PC or an Android or an iPhone. There's going to be some really unique things to you. So you can do all the research in the world, but it's really important to experience it. So what I am suggesting is, if you're seeing all of these platforms out there and you're like, I'm going to do all the research and then I'm going to perfectly get it and then it's going to be perfect, then it's just not going to work for you. I went through about 8 different platforms for booking systems, and this was 10 years ago when booking systems weren't even a thing. And my poor receptionist at the time, she had to keep up with every iteration of what we were doing. But the only way we could understand whether it was working for us at that particular time for our clinic and the amount of practitioners that we had and the way we wanted to integrate it was going through the experience of it. So you need to actually lean in, take the leap, and do the thing. So whether it is a platform that you want to use for telehealth, whether it is a new way of doing business online, whether it's a new way of presenting your knowledge, maybe it's doing an e-course or finding the platform for the e-course that you've already created, you have to lean in, pick one, do it from experience, and notice what's coming up before it, but you have to get the experience in it. Now, some of these things are going to be really cool, like a great experiment where you've got the hypothesis and all of your experiment meets the hypothesis and you, hooray, get the grant and get all of the wonderful things that come with, having really great science. But really great science also comes with the failures because you learn so much more from it. Now, those 8 different platforms I was talking about before that we went through for booking systems, we learnt so much about what we needed in our clinic and our particular situation and what we really, really wanted, that by that last platform change, we were on it. We were so aware of what we needed because we had beautifully failed 7 different times beforehand to really understand what we wanted. Now, this is the thing. Right now is the time to fail really fast because people are like, technology is this really interesting, weird thing that, sometimes fails. So it's the perfect time to get on the train of doing something differently in your practice because there's a little bit of a grace period when all of this is happening because everybody's in the same boat. And technology's in a weird little boat too. So there's this jiggly period where you can actually get on board and experience, take the action, take the leap, and then figure out what's working and what's not. Now, number 5, when it comes to picking a platform, picking a training, how to actually get it done when it comes to the freebies, is at some point, the freebie level will only give you a certain amount. And I learned this from way back, especially in the booking system space that I was using, especially in the webinar space I was using, things like that. If I was using the freebie version of it, there's only so much it's going to give. And complaining about what it doesn't give you doesn't change anything. So number 5 is, at some point, through experience, you'll understand that the next step is actually paying for it. So you do have to get to a point where you can pay for it. And paying for it, depending on what you've researched, how it matches your preferences, and what your experience of it is, all of a sudden, you actually get all of the things that you're probably asking for anyway. So this is the same when it comes to your security levels. This is the same when it comes to trainings. If you get the freebie version that goes for only 60 minutes and then you get the other one that goes for 12 hours, there's obviously going to be a hell of a lot more in there. When it comes to booking systems, there's so many other options when it comes to payment gateways and other things that are available to you when you pay. So there is only so far freebies can take you. And after that, you have this other option of paying. Now, the clever way, the strategic and business-minded way of doing it is you use the freebie stuff and you experience the freebie stuff and you go through every little bit of that to know what works and what doesn't work of it. You've convinced yourself that it is able to do what you is suggested, and then you utilize it to make the money to pay for it. So it's the same with any platform or training. I highly suggest, and I've spoken about return on investment before, whatever you're investing at that time is just time if it's a freebie, but you're investing time, you need to get money back for the time that you're investing on it. So whether it's a training or a platform, if you're utilizing that freebie version, you could be getting paid by people coming and using that freebie platform. And once they've paid you, you can reinvest it into the platform that costs a little bit extra, that has the different tips and tricks that you want for it. Hey, Chris, nice of you to join us. So those types of things, when you're consuming freebie content, if you take action and experience through it, then the return on investment is where you can then put the money back in and get the exact thing that you need out of it. So hopefully this has been helpful. And I highly suggest you start to think about the way that you're thinking about things, the way you're making decisions, the different filters that you've been filtering it through, and then actually taking the action. And if the action is working, start to try and figure out a way to return on invest and pay for it. I love that half the people completely just jumped off as soon as I said you should pay for something. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so the fascinating thing about that is I'm about to give away a freebie. Now, one of my favorite people is running a training. Now, this training is extraordinary and it is really valuable for anybody who is running online consultations. Online consultations, I've done a big free blog post and a whole hour-long video about running an online consultation. It's over on my blog at tammyguest.com. But one of the biggest chunks that is very nuanced is how do you do an online physical exam? Now, Katie Barron has been teaching Let's Get Physical, her program, all over Australia and New Zealand, and now online. And she has the nuances of understanding what it is to do a physical exam consult online. So, she's even got a freebie at the moment just for 21 different things you can tell from someone's face online. 21 different health things that you can tell from someone's face. But she's also just today and only until tonight has her webinar, which is usually $50, and all the proceeds are going to the Crisis Kitchen in Bali. And we've spent a lot of time over in Bali and Vanuatu and other places giving back as practitioners. And Katie is one of the biggest give backers that there are. And so as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, awesome. And so I have got 2 of these. I invested in 2 of these webinars. And so it's $100 worth of training that I want to give away right now. If you are going to tell me in the comments section, how have you pivoted? So if you would like the online physical exam training that is really specific for practitioners who have gone into online consultations, then I have the opportunity to give 2 of them away right now. And all the proceeds go to the Bali Crisis Kitchen. And I would love for you to fill the feed specifically on something that you have pivoted on that has met all of these things that we talked about. Where have you just leaned in? Irrelevant of all your preferences, irrelevant of all the ways you've been thinking, past, future, all of the things, where have you leaned in, leapt off, experienced something different in your business these past couple of weeks? And tell me what it's been like, because so many of us are getting stuck in our own stuff. And that's fine. We're in a totally different world that we're living in the moment. But it's not going to move us forward. And I really want to hear a wave of people who are opening up to experiencing something different. Have you leapt online? Have you done your first consultation using, telehealth, Zoom, something else? What platforms are you using? What are you interested in? What's happening? Where are you experientially going through it? Or where have you invested money to actually get the level of security you wanted, or actually get the tools and tips and tricks that you wanted? Where is it that you've actually done the thing, taken the experience of it, rather than getting yourself into procrastination stations or freebie paralysis and not actually done the thing? So until 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the comment section below here. And I am going to give away 2 of the free trainings, everything that you need to know around physical exams online to do the best that you can for physical exams on online consultations. I'm going to give away 2 of them. And I am going to keep an eye out for these stories that are coming out about what have you done differently, what have you experienced, and what could be helpful to somebody else? What have you invested in, or what could be helpful to somebody else? Because I really think that the more stories we get out around this, the quicker it is for all of us to make a decision to actually take the action to get the traction that we need to start pivoting and get ourselves all online and doing other things, helping more people, and making the ripple effect that I see in Katie's work in giving back. All right. It's been awesome to talk to you guys. I hope you can continue to consider the way in which you are making your choices for your business and taking the action that you need and experiencing and experimenting and all of the things that I love. If you got something out of this, or you know of somebody who would also get something out of this, please share it. And I'm looking forward to seeing your stories in the comment section and giving away those 2 amazing trainings for anybody who's interested. All right. Have an amazing rest of the day, people. See ya.